The city square was almost deserted, except for a few late-night wanderers hurrying past the biting cold. Snowflakes drifted lazily from the sky, settling on frozen benches and icy pavements. A single mother crouched near the steps of a shuttered shop, her coat thin and worn, its edges fraying from years of use. Her 3 children clung to her like lifeboats in a storm. The youngest, no more than 5, rubbed his little hands together, red and raw, trying to generate warmth that wouldn't come. The mother whispered reassurances she barely believed herself. Almost home, just a little longer, she murmured, though there was no home to go to, only a temporary friend's couch, miles away. Her stomach tightened with hunger and anxiety as she scanned the empty streets. Each flickering streetlight seemed to highlight her children's shivering forms rather than light the path ahead. Across the square, a sleek black car slowed to a stop. Inside, the billionaire surveyed the scene, initially out of mild curiosity. But as his gaze fell on the children's frozen faces, something shifted. Their small bodies huddled together, eyes wide, trying to look brave in a world that had been anything but kind. They reminded him of his own childhood in the cold city streets before he'd inherited his fortune. He noticed the threadbare coat on the little boy, the torn mittens of the middle child, and the way the oldest girl tried to act strong for her siblings while her teeth chattered uncontrollably. The wind howled again, whipping through the square, tugging at scarves and coats. The mother instinctively pulled her children closer, whispering again, "We'll be okay," though her own voice cracked with doubt. She tried to appear strong, to mask the fear gnawing at her, but even she couldn't hide the trembling that ran through her body. Every passerby's hurried glance only deepened her sense of invisibility, until the black car's headlights illuminated her world. The billionaire stepped out of the car, his tailored coat brushing against the snow. His boots crunched on the icy ground, drawing the mother's attention. For the first time in hours, she looked up and met his eyes. There was no judgment, no curiosity, only a calm, almost magnetic concern. And for reasons she couldn't yet understand, a tiny flicker of hope ignited in her chest. The billionaire's presence seemed to cut through the bitter wind, a sudden warmth amid the cold night. The mother instinctively stepped in front of her children, her heart pounding. Who was this man? Why was he stopping here, of all places? Fear and caution waged war in her mind, but she couldn't hide her shivering children any longer. He stopped a few feet away, his eyes softening as they met hers. "Come here, all of you," he said, his voice calm, low, and strangely comforting. There was no arrogance in it, no expectation, just an invitation. The words carried a weight she couldn't explain, something that told her it was safe to trust him, even if just for a moment. The oldest child, a girl of about 10, hesitated. Her mother gave her a tiny nod of reassurance. Slowly, she stepped forward, brushing snowflakes from her hair. The middle child followed, his small legs wobbling, and the youngest clutched his mother's coat but let himself be guided. Each step felt surreal, like stepping out of a nightmare into the unknown. The billionaire bent slightly, lowering himself to their level. He offered a gentle smile. "I know it's cold," he said. "Let's get you somewhere warm." It wasn't just a promise, it was a conviction. The mother's defenses began to crumble. The way he looked at her children made her feel seen in a way no one had for a long time. She whispered a shaky, "Thank you," almost to herself. As he led them toward the cafe. Next door, a few people on the street paused, curious, but the billionaire ignored them. His focus was entirely on the family, his stride confident yet unhurried, giving them time to adjust to the strange, sudden kindness. The children's tiny hands slipped into his as he guided them, and for the first time that night, giggles broke through the tension, small, hesitant, but unmistakably real. The mother's throat tightened as she followed behind, a mixture of relief, disbelief, and cautious hope swelling within her. This stranger, a man she didn't know, had just extended a lifeline in the middle of the freezing city night. And somehow, in that brief moment, she felt the weight of her struggles lift slightly, just enough to imagine that maybe, just maybe, tonight could be different. The door to the cafe swung open, and the warmth hit them like a soft wave. The sudden contrast from the biting wind outside was almost dizzying. The smell of fresh coffee, baked bread, and sweet chocolate enveloped them, and the children's eyes widened. For a moment, they froze, unsure if this was real. The youngest clung to his mother, still trembling, but the warmth seeped into his little body, uncoiling tension he hadn't realized he carried. The billionaire gestured toward a corner booth where the heaters hummed gently. "Sit here," he said, guiding them carefully. The staff, startled at first, quickly adjusted, offering blankets and steaming mugs of hot chocolate. The mother sank into the booth, the weight of exhaustion pressing down. She hadn't felt safe, or seen this much kindness, in weeks. She watched her children sip the warm chocolate, their fingers slowly losing the deep red hue of the cold, their laughter bubbling softly, hesitant at first, then growing. As they drank, she began to explain, her voice trembling. I lost my job. The kids and we've been trying to manage, but," her voice caught, and she swallowed back the rest. The billionaire listened in silence, leaning slightly forward, not a hint of judgment on his face. He asked gentle questions, not prying, just enough to understand the situation. He remembered his own past, though he rarely shared it. Nights of uncertainty, moments when help seemed impossible. He could see the exhaustion and desperation mirrored in her eyes, the same resilience he had once needed to survive. Something deep inside him stirred, a resolve to act, not out of charity, but from recognition of the struggle he had once known. Minutes stretched into a comfortable silence, punctuated only by the soft laughter of the children and the hiss of the coffee machine. He handed them extra blankets, watching the mother finally relax, her shoulders loosening for the first time that evening. The children began to giggle as the youngest attempted to stir the hot chocolate with his spoon, dribbling a little down the side of the cup, and she laughed, soft, unguarded, a sound she hadn't allowed herself in weeks. The billionaire leaned back, satisfied. He knew this was just the beginning, but the small moment of warmth, laughter, and safety meant more than money alone could provide. It was the first step toward changing their lives, the first crack in the walls of hardship that had surrounded them for so long. By the time they left the cafe, the snow had softened into a quiet, falling mist. The children's faces glowed from warmth and sugar, their small hands no longer red and trembling. The mother's eyes shone with tears she couldn't entirely hide, a mixture of relief, gratitude, and disbelief. The billionaire walked beside them, his presence steady and reassuring, a silent promise that the night was not the end of their story. He led them to a sleek black car parked nearby. "I want to make sure you're safe," he said. The mother hesitated, instinct still alert, but the gentle sincerity in his voice melted her doubts. They climbed inside, and he explained in simple terms. He had arranged for a fully furnished apartment just for them, a place where they could sleep, eat, and feel secure for the next year. The mother's hands trembled as she absorbed this reality: walls, warmth, safety, all provided without strings or judgment. Beyond the apartment, he had already coordinated for her to start a new job immediately, a position that matched her skills and gave her independence. He handed her contacts and documents, but more importantly, he handed her dignity and hope, the tools to rebuild without fear of shame or failure. She clutched the papers as if they were treasures, her gratitude overflowing. The children peeked out of the car window, amazed at the bustling city lights that now seemed less harsh and more welcoming. The youngest whispered, "Thank you," barely audible but brimming with genuine innocence. The billionaire's stern, reserved demeanor softened. He knelt briefly to meet their eyes. "You're welcome," he said, and for the first time that evening, a small, rare smile crossed his face. It was not a smile of wealth or power, but one born of connection, of making a real difference. As they drove to their new home, the mother felt something she hadn't in years, a cautious sense of possibility. Her children laughed freely, their tiny voices filling the car, and she allowed herself to imagine a future where warmth, love, and security were constants, not fleeting luxuries. The billionaire watched them in the rearview mirror, heart quietly full. True wealth, he realized, was not measured in billions, cars, or possessions. It was measured in the lives you touch, the hope you restore, and the moments when you choose humanity over indifference. Tonight, he had chosen humanity. And for the mother and her children, this night was not just survival, it was the beginning of a new life.